as you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell, you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil. A veil that is beyond our own comprehension. Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right, we're back with a brand new episode 110. We're actually going to be talking about two more Howling movies from the franchise. Part 5, The Rebirth, and
Howling VI Freaks.
The Freaks.
Freaks.
Yeah, that's all good.
The Freaks.
The Freaks.
Almost like freaks. Fuck
Yeah, they got freaky as shit, yeah.
I wish that's what they did.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
Just a bunch of fucking animal porn.
Ew.
Well, most
I
of
was
the
just
other
thinking-
ones were kind of like that.
Yeah, I
mean,
was just thinking like the Howling from the Hood or something.
Oh.
Like, that's what I was thinking when you said that.
Damn.
Jesus.
Well,
And you're gonna go with fucking like bestiality over there.
Oh, no. I just like watching other animals be happy.
Okay.
No, but there is a lot of people that really get into it, so. And especially in these movies, Jesus Christ, dude. But these ones are actually pretty tame compared to the other ones, but we'll get into that later. How have you been, though?
I've been good.
Yeah? Well, what do you laugh about? What's so funny?
And I'm just nothing.
You're like, fuck life.
I can't wait till we're done with these movies.
Oh, you're not a big fan, huh?
Only 2 more. I was telling the people at Dutch Brothers today, I was like, we're trying to finish up the Howling franchise. And they're like, they made more of those? And I'm like, there's 8 of them.
I think there's more.
I think there probably is.
I think there's 9 total, but I don't know
like,
if the other one
really?
has.
And I was like, yes. And we're only on 5 and 6.
Be honest, guys. Like, I don't think I've ever made it past the ones we did today, and I don't even think I saw the 5th one.
Yeah.
I may have, like, on some weird late night Cinemax bullshit, but I never fucking watched it. So I don't know. So it's been a task, guys, and I'm sorry for those of you who are big fans of the franchise. I have to ask questions about your life and why you like it so much, but I understand.
I did ace my first midterm, though. So that's cool.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice. Fuck yeah.
Go me. And then I forgot I had a bunch of bio work, so I have like homework up the ass for the next like 3 days.
Really?
So I guess I'm glad that we're staying home this weekend because I have a bunch of homework to do.
Yeah, well, that'll catch you up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it might be that time.
What time is it?
Horse shots! All right, guys. So this week, of course, we mentioned we're talking about Howling 5 and 6. The 6th movie is called The Freaks, and it's very circusy and kind of what we chose for this shot. If you haven't seen it, we're really not spoiling that much. But let's just say there's a purple creature in the movie. I won't say what it is, but it's probably one of the most unique versions of this creature that I've ever seen. And probably might be one of the reasons why some people always note this movie in particular. But the bad guy in this film is purple. I don't want to ruin it. I'm trying not to anyway. But
It's just purple.
so I came up with a pretty interesting idea. I thought it was kind of silly, but we're going to be calling this one a purple prick. So, and the reason why is because he has fangs, and he's kind of a dick.
He's definitely a dick.
Yeah. So the purple prick shot. What the fuck is in a purple prick shot? Well, basically, you're going to want to use prickly pear vodka. Now, this is a little bit difficult to find, but you can order it online. There's a company called Western Sun who does prickly pear vodka. So you're going to add this into a large shot glass, a double shot glass, so basically like a brandy glass or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
There's a double shot
One
glass.
of those thick ones, if you can. So it's like a double shot glass. You're going to pour in about 3/4 of a shot into the glass. You're going to fill that in with grape soda, the fourth, and then you're going to take your hand and put it over the top, covering the glass, and slam it down on the counter so that it shakes up, because you're using grape soda, so it fizzes up a little bit. And then you got a cherry backer, but you're not going to do that. You're going to shout, "Freak!" Lift a truck, turn it over, and then...
Toy trucks are allowed.
Yeah, there you go.
Tonka truck.
And then slam the shot with your hand, basically. You got to slam it down on the counter, and then you slam the shot and chase it with a delicious cherry.
Did he flip a truck in this movie?
Yeah, he did.
Oh
you
my
didn't
God.
see that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, dude. He fucking flips a fucking truck. I was like, hell yeah. He's like, "I am tired of this."
Oh, yeah.
And then he fucking flips the truck, and I was like, yes.
He was fucking stupid, but also cool.
It is kind of cool.
He was like so dope, but then so lame at the same time. Like, it was just weird.
We'll definitely
Really
get
weird
into it a little
combination.
bit more when we get into the spoiler section, so you guys are going to want to stick around for that. But if you would like to try a purple prick, all you got to do is go to longlivethevoid.com and check out our hashtag horror shots section now.
Horror shots!
That's it for horror shots. All right, guys, so now, of course, it's time for us to dip into some of the most important news that has been around. And, of course, that is always called the fucking news!
Here is the fucking news.
Brittany wants to share some special news with me. She hasn't told me what the fuck she's talking about, so...
It's just something stupid that I forgot to mention. We were blabbing about bullshit earlier.
Oh, okay.
So I saw like one of like the greatest fucking Halloween couple costumes like ever. Right?
Oh.
Put it on the internet.
What
that
is
I've
it?
ever seen. It's this guy and he's wearing a t-shirt and it says Peter, and then his girlfriend
Is
is
a
dressed
pumpkin.
as a pumpkin.
Oh, my God.
And I like lost my fucking shit. I'm like, that is brilliant, and I want that to be my costume this year.
That's pretty good.
I'm gonna see if I can convince Mouse to do it.
After you lost your shit, did you find it, pick it up with a bag, and then put it in the toilet?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
No, I found it, picked it up in a bag, and then put it with my dog's shit.
Yes,
that
I know.
has to go out to the trash can.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, and I know I'm an 8-year-old, so... Yes. Okay.
But I found it.
That is pretty good, though.
But I was like, holy fucking shit.
We've never done
Like,
that, me and Christina. I think we did once, maybe. I don't remember. I always choke when it comes to, like, dressing up. And, like, I just want to know. I just wish somebody was, like, blatantly obvious with me and said, "Hey, you look like this guy," and then I could dress up
They
as
didn't
that.
do it, yeah.
Right, because I can't look at myself and go, "Oh, yeah, you're that fucking piece of shit in that movie. You should dress up like him."
Yeah. Well, Mouse always gets that he looks like one of the members from Korn.
Oh, a little bit.
So he always gets Jonathan Davis or Monkey.
Twiggy. Or no, not Twiggy. What's his name?
Isn't that Monkey?
The one
with
that
dreads?
Monkey is
Yeah.
the one that went Christian, like,
Oh, yeah.
big time Christian, and like
Yeah.
said that they're all about Satan and shit. And like, remember that?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
he
sure
gets,
that's what it was.
Like 3 different members of Korn. No, that's who he gets compared to. That, and then when he didn't have dreads,
you
it was
Jonathan Davis?
yes, like for real. I can't remember where the fuck we were recently, but it's like someone thought he was Jonathan Davis. It was like they really thought it, and I'm like, he's not wearing a tracksuit.
Right, and Jonathan Davis is pretty tall.
Like, yeah, well, Mouse is tall.
Yeah, but he's not
like
that tall. Yeah, he's like 6 foot something.
Poor
Like,
Mouse, he's gonna be sad. now.
there's nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, that shit cracks me up. And then before he had dreads, he looked kind of like Jack White. Like they looked similar.
But in the real news, we actually have a lot of buzz, obviously, surrounding the Halloween movie coming out right now. And one of the things that stood out to me to talk about is the television series that has been worked on or being written. And they were thinking about doing a television series. Like, what?
No.
Like, pump the brakes a little, COD. We need to not do a TV show. Like, that's where it all goes to shit. Like, all of them. Freddy, that was a perfect example of when the fucking franchise went to shit. Is when they started pumping out fucking, like, fucking television and shit like that.
Leave it alone.
I mean, we're in a better time now for television because they're actually funding it with money now. But because they can tack on more advertising for it, whereas a movie, you get like your one shot and that's it. And it costs you. But with a TV show, they can put $4 million here, that episode on the front and the back.
Yeah.
Like they could do it all over the place.
So it's kind of like pick one.
Right.
Don't do both. And you've already been like banging out what looks to be this dope-ass fucking movie, so just leave it alone.
Well, this is what Akkad had to say. If you guys don't know who it is, he's the guy that produced this from the get. So, Malik Akkad, he actually said recently he still wants to make it happen. He says, it's something we've had for a long time, and I definitely want to see it done. This was an interview that Bloody Disgusting did. He said, when we started doing it, this was in a development about a decade ago. At the time, I think the thought was, we don't want to cannibalize the theatrical. Let's keep it as the theatrical event movie. If that starts flowing down, we would address TV. Nowadays, we all know TV is pulling out ahead of theatrical in a way that surprised everybody, certainly me. So, he was a little cryptic about what form a Halloween television show would take, apparently, and it would certainly involve Michael Myers, naturally. He said, the one we're developing, and that I still feel very strongly about, he's involved in it. So that's really all I can say about it now. It wouldn't look anything like your traditional Halloween movie, but he's in there.
No.
As are a lot of other characters, but used in different and interesting ways. It sounds like a fucking trash dumpster fire. Don't do it.
Halloween.
Just do something else.
Make up something different. Like, I don't know. Just leave it alone.
There's so much creativity out
Leave
there,
it the
guys.
fuck alone.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. Like, you know what it
Jesus.
is? It's because this movie has gotten so much fucking response from the public.
Yeah.
That they're like, how do we milk it?
And American Horror Story has been doing so well and continues to do well
Right.
on TV, and that's regular primetime TV.
But that's
too.
more
it's
of
not
a-
Netflix and shit. So
I don't think
people actually watch that.
Right, but Michael Myers isn't the kind of story that
No.
involves this really entangling story.
It's not.
It's a fucking very straightforward fucking thing. And yeah, and when you
I'm amazed they could stretch it out to so many movies.
as you can already tell, most people don't even like the fact that Laurie Strode was her brother or sister. But you know what I mean? So anyway, I don't want to harp on it, but what do you guys think? Do you think there should be a television show? My personal opinion, fuck no. Maybe do what John Carpenter wanted to do and maybe not. Just call it Halloween Nights or something like that. I don't know.
Or just don't touch it.
Right. Well, they're like, we got the name. So how do we milk this?
Fuck it up.
Also in the news, we recently heard that Jordan Peele is going to be taking on Candyman, which is very apropos.
Oh my God, I saw that.
Yeah, and since Tony Todd's been in the new movie called Hellfest that's just released, there was a question in a chat with Nightmare on Film Street about, what does Tony Todd think of a potential remake? And Tony Todd said, I didn't realize the importance at the time about how impactful Candyman was, particularly in the inner cities, which had some of the strongest fan base. He was that African-American representing, us. So I'm honored. If Jordan wants to do it, do it. I know I'd rather have him do it, someone with intelligence who's going to be thoughtful and dig into the whole racial makeup of who Candyman is and why he existed in the first place. He said, I know he'll give homage, and I know that if it gets made, I'll have a plate at the table one way or another. So yeah, probably a cameo.
Yeah.
I would. I mean,
Well,
I would think that.
fucking hope so.
Yeah, I would think that he's obviously a fan of Candyman. So Jordan Peele, I'm saying. So I would hope that he'd be in there. But that's cool. It's it's nice to hear that he gave his blessing, and I think he's right.
At first I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. The title of this, I was like, Jesus Christ! Is this what is he gonna say?
No, yeah.
Yeah, fuck that shit. I better be in that fucking movie. I'm
Right.
like, no, that's not Tony Todd.
No, he could probably do a good job.
Well, in other news, Hellboy has been pushed back to a later date. It's going to be in 2019, apparently. Director Neil Marshall from The Descent and Dog Soldiers is going to have a much darker than Guillermo del Toro version of this, as you guys might have already heard.
Dope.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, I do like David Harbour from Stranger Things, so it could be good. But Lionsgate's decided that it's going to be in theaters on January 11th, 2019. But they pushed it back to April 12th, 2019, which
It's
is
not that far.
I mean, it is for people who want to see it.
Yeah, I do, but I can wait.
I definitely am kind of on the fence, but if it's darker and it doesn't have as silly a tone as maybe is Guillermo, maybe I'll eat my own words. I don't care.
I loved both of the Hellboy movies.
They're going to have...
I don't care.
Yeah, they're going to have Mila Jovovich in it.
Stop. I'm sold. I love her.
She's going to be the Nemu, the film's villain. Ian McShane is Professor Broom. It says that the news story sees the heroes squaring off against medieval sorcerers who seeks to destroy humankind.
I fucking love Ian McShane.
Yeah, you big fan?
Oh, God, yes.
I
love him so much.
I know there's a lot of Mila Jovovich fans. I'm not against
too.
her. I love that she plays a really strong female role, and she's really good in it. But I also feel like she kind of like should have gotten off that Resident Evil train a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how those movies continue to get made.
I don't know either.
I mean, I guess they just made a lot of money, but...
I don't know. Like, it's almost like they progressed and got a little bit better once it got to, like, the second, or, like, the third installment or whatever to me, and then they got terrible again.
I watched them all, but...
when I watched them all out of order when I eventually, like, got into watching all of them, and I don't know. But I still like that franchise. It's just like the early movies in it are better. But I like her, but I like her in a lot of other shit, not the Resident Evil movies.
Well,
so
I think she could do a good role in it, though. Makes sense.
Yeah, well, Ian McShane's in it, so I don't give a flying fuck who else is in this movie. So I'm gonna see it. He's so fucking dope. Oh, he's a good actor, and he's just a sexy old man.
You're freaking me out.
I love him. You know this, because every time we talk about anything that he's in or a part of, I'm like, yeah, it's great.
Well, in other news, guys, if you guys are fans of Happy Death Day, well, we know that there's going to be a sequel, and they've announced that Happy Death Day, the number 2, you, which is a clever sequel, but what are they going to do for the third one? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Hopefully they just don't make one.
Yeah, I'll bet you that they will.
I'm sure.
But it's basically going to be coming out on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2019. So,
fuck, that's fast.
Right. I thought so too, but they've been working on it for a little while. So I remember reporting on them doing a sequel when the movie came out. Remember?
Started it before the wow.
I think it was like 2 weeks after the movie came out. They were like, "Yeah, we're going to make a sequel."
Fuck it. Well, I had enough money apparently. So.
Well, they didn't spend much on it to make it. Yeah. So
Well, good on them. We'll see.
But the sequel, the way he described it, Roth detailed. He said the sequel, the way he described it to me, elevates the movie from being a horror movie, and I wouldn't even say it's just a horror movie because it's a horror comedy, rom-com drama, into a Back to the Future type of genre film where the sequel joins us right where we left off. It explains a lot of things in the first one that didn't get explained, and it elevates everything. So I actually kind of enjoyed the movie. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the movies that are coming out of that production company, but I thought it was a fun movie. It's a little bit of a younger comedy, but
yeah,
I like Groundhog Day. I've always loved the concept, so...
I wonder if it's just that like whole the genre crossover type thing that a lot of people just don't resonate with.
Right. In other news, in sad what the fuck is wrong with everybody and the darker side of remakes news, is James Wan on board to produce a remake of 2016's Train to Busan.
Why?
Right.
Why?
I know. I don't understand this. Like, the first thing that pops in my head is, well, what is it? Because people don't like to read subtitles?
That's exactly what it is.
There's completely enriched characters in this movie is pretty much why this did so well. It's not just the concept. It's the characters. It's the direction. It's the writing.
Exactly.
You don't need to try to mimic it when it came out just a couple of fucking years ago.
Yeah, I don't
Oh, well, it's not in English, so it's not as good as it should be. This is like record for me all over again.
Open up your fucking mind, America. Sit down and read a fucking subtitle.
Well, it's either that or...
Lazy fuckers.
I don't know if it's 100% that reason. It's just them trying to cash in on money also. But I also feel like there are people that haven't seen it because it doesn't...
There's so many people that will not watch movies that have subtitles.
Right. It's like, well, I don't want to get tired when I'm watching a movie. Well, it's like, well, you're not really paying attention then.
Yeah. It's just stupid. Like, I love subtitled movies because I have to pay attention.
I will fairly admit, though, like, sometimes you do miss the subtle nuances in someone's acting because you are reading it. So it's not unheard of to think, well, I don't want to miss out on that, and it's distracting.
Right. Yeah, I get that aspect of it, but
right.
I don't know. It doesn't really bother me.
So, Deadline reported on this, said James Wan will be producing the remake with Gary Dauberman, the It and the Nun, writing the script. The site details, I'm hearing that 5 bidders are circling or have made bids, and that's the rights package will sell this week for a 7-figure sum. New Line, Universal, which has just stepped out, Paramount, Lionsgate, and Screen Gems are all in the mix. So, I don't know. What do you guys
probably gonna get it.
What do you guys think about this? Should we just punch them in the face and tell them to stop doing things?
Yes.
It's like, dude, like, I mean, that's the darker side of remakes to me. Like, I don't really mind remakes. Like, you know, when it's been a couple decades, like, okay, cool. But when it's 2 years, dude, you were just cash cowing that motherfucker right there. And maybe it will be good, but, you know, you can't get too mad because the people who own the rights to the movie sold it. So,
right.
You know, it's their choice, just like Record did when they made their movie. You know, I didn't agree with it. They had to change the name, I guess, but I'm pretty sure they sold the rights to that movie too. So, but yeah. Anyway, guys, that's it for the news. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of Howling 5, The Rebirth, and
Howling 6, The Freaks.
Booyah. We're going to go ahead and do that right
Fucking now!
Kick it off with the first one in order, number 5.
So, the first film we're going to talk about today, Howling 5, The Rebirth, which came out in the glorious year of 1989, which was when my best friend was born. Oh. Brief synopsis: a group of strangers visit an ancient Hungarian castle and bring along a werewolf.
Budapest.
Unbeknownst to them, I am Budapest.
Budapest.
This movie was directed by Neil Sundstrom, who's known for Inside Out, Dead Easy, and Slash. It was written by Freddie Rowe, who's the actual writer for this, who did Howling 4 and 5. Clive Turner, who did the screenplay and story. He also did Howling 4, 5, and New Moon Rising. Mm-hmm. And Gary Bradner from the novels is credited for this as well, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. It stars Phil Davis, who plays Count Istvan, who he's also in Alien 3, Underworld, not the Underworld that you think of, but a 1985 version of a movie called Underworld.
Okay.
It was in a different title. I think it was like French or something, but I don't remember what the actual title is, but it translates in American to Underworld.
Right, okay.
And I was like, I'm going to have to clarify that. Also in another movie called Dead Man Running. It also has Victoria Caitlin, who plays Dr. Catherine Peake, who is from Ghoulies, Mutant on the Bounty, Twin Peaks, and Maniac Cop. It also has Elizabeth Shea, who plays Mary Lou. She was in this movie, and she's also credited in 6
2 other ones, yeah.
Yeah, 4 and 6, I think.
Well, her character is kind of throughout these series after this one.
Right. Yeah. It also has Ben Cole, who plays David, who is also in Edge of Sanity, Cyber Eden, and Saving Grace. William Shockley, who plays Richard, who is from RoboCop, Showgirls, and Street Asylum. Mark Silverstein, who plays Jonathan Lane from Vampires, The Last Stand, and Felon. And the last one that I'm going to talk about is Mary Staven, who plays Anna, who was in Octopussy, A View to Kill, and she was also in Twin Peaks.
Why do you get to say that word? I'm just kidding.
Anytime I have a chance to say Octopussy, I'm saying it.
Octopussy.
I was like, perfect.
Christina hates that word.
Oh,
so
I love
why.
it. I don't like the word pussy either, but like...
She told me why. There's a reason. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay. What did you think of this movie, Alex?
Well, it's not the best Howling franchise movie, but...
It's better than most of the others.
Yeah, it's still 10 times better than the Howling 4, which I pretty much shit on.
Ugh.
Other than the one cool effect that they did in the movie, which I thought was really cool.
That wasn't even enough to be a saving grace.
No, but I mean, it's memorable for that reason. Mm-hmm. Like, I will always remember it because of that scene, but that's all you need to see.
Yep.
But this one's got some pretty bad acting in it, but one specifically, which is the Richard guy, the Playboy guy, who just could not deliver his lines worth shit. But, still, this is still better than part 4, which was terrible. It's a story going back to 1489 in Budapest, when a group of people were slain to make sure some werewolf infection didn't escape, including a couple who killed themselves, but suddenly a baby is actually still alive because the mother couldn't do it.
That shit was so dramatic.
I know. Like,
he's just like, what?
Our life! We died in vain! God.
I was like, what the fuck am I even watching?
Couldn't they just like fast forwarded through that whole thing?
So
like
annoying.
It was way too much. That guy was like, this is my moment. Anyway, so
it was so dramatic.
But, a baby survives and you fast forward 500 fucking years later and they are opening up the castle again. A large typical group of just about every type of profession you can think of are asked to help celebrate the opening for some reason. And, of course, they get picked off one by one. Is it a werewolf? Who's in the killings? Scrappy?
Scooby Snack?
It was a werewolf, and it would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
Or just that one guy.
I know, right? Well, it's a little convoluted, but anyway, hardly any blood and only one good gore scene on display here. Sorry, gorehounds. It's pretty much a werewolf movie for the sake of being a werewolf movie. Mm-hmm. And sure, they show the damn thing, and it doesn't look all that bad when you get to see it, sort of. But to be honest, it never feels like it like kind of turned loose. Most of the people were just killing each other most of the times. Like,
yeah.
Did you notice that?
Or killing what was already dead.
I mean, I almost feel like they could have done some sort of like werewolf slasher film had the director had some sort of vision for it. Mm-hmm. But, it might have been better. I don't know. It would have been more unique, I guess. Maybe they tried, but I don't know. It felt like just like a shitty whodunit Clue movie without humor, sort of. Like, and instead, but it's not exactly clear why that is until the very end, as they basically use that stereotype that werewolves are not in control of their bestial selves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is like completely...
And they kind of try to flip you around on that. It's stupid. I don't know why they did that, but like they're like, oh, but was it a vampire? Or was it a werewolf? Anyway.
And then it goes to the flip side in the next movie too, which is interesting.
And then they eventually reveal why all the guests are there, and it's just okay. We get a few attempts at jump scares and action with a werewolf breaking out of doors and even some snow. Ooh! But, it was okay, but it's not exactly amazing. It was all shot on sets for the most part, excluding the very beginning motel scene, the bus ride and stuff. Your typical castle interior shots that feel kind of poorly lit sometimes. Some of the shots in the basement were pretty cool. Like, I thought the lighting in there was cool.
I feel like that's intentional, though, because it's supposed to be a medieval castle.
It just felt like a TV movie, pretty much. Like, to me.
It was straight to video, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those movies around that time were.
Well, both of these that we're talking about are straight to video.
I do say, like, and I'm saying this in kind of like a weird fuck you way, but, it definitely carries you along the story, feeling like it's not like you get that feeling like when you watch 4 and you hate yourself for even watching it.
Oh my God, I was cursing you out.
I know, she was mad. She, like, when I asked her about that, I was like, so did you check it out? She was like, yeah, why did I waste my fucking time? Like, kind of in her mind.
I was like, thanks for this garbage. You fuck.
But, it's still rather meh, at the end. But, it was still interesting enough to carry me through. And it definitely has that precursor 90s video, sort of straight to video sort of look about it, where they were making movies on the cheap for the most part. Yeah, it's mostly a pass for me unless you just love, that pre-90s feel and you can kind of know what that feels like, that 90s films. Or if you're just looking for a new werewolf movie to check out and check it off your watch list, it's not a horrible watch. You can make it through to the end without, sepulchre. But it's still better than part 4. I'll keep saying that over and over again. But that has to mean something, though, right? I mean,
take it.
Can't get any worse. I gave it, what was it, 2 middle fingers?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think that's accurate.
The first one. So what about you, though? What'd you think?
Pretty similar thoughts to what you had, actually, which is funny. I thought it was a pretty decent flick considering the 2 prior franchise films.
Right.
They do attempt to do something original with the werewolf movie by kind of mixing slasher elements and a murder mystery plot, and I felt the same way of like the Clue concept, just like not funny.
Yeah.
But I still would enjoy this more than Clue because I didn't really like Clue.
Well, it seems like on paper it was like a really good, but it just wasn't conceptually brought to light on film.
Yeah, they didn't put enough time or effort or anything into it
felt
to
very
make that come to fruition.
Patchy.
Yeah. The script has some engaging twists and turns, I thought, but ultimately it still ends up really predictable.
Yeah.
The characters were not given nearly enough thought as they could have been, and they weren't really able to engage with the audience. Like at all. Like you don't really get a sense of anyone or anything that they do.
You mean with each other?
With us, like being able to resonate with the characters. Like I don't.
Oh, their acting was so bad that you.
And
just
their
didn't
acting
care.
was just terrible too.
Well, I don't think some of them were good.
The acting for the most part was bad. I thought Elizabeth Shea's character, Mary Lou, was like the fucking worst.
Well, I think she was
Holy
intentionally.
balls. But like the what? What's Oh no!
Well,
Why?
she's supposed to
Or
play
whatever.
that ditzy.
Like, oh, so fucking stupid. It was
Yeah.
annoying. However, I thought the atmosphere was pretty damn cool because medieval castles, which are pretty dope. My one question was, where the fuck are the werewolves? Where?
Well, there was only one technically.
Every like death for the most part happens off fucking camera, and it's annoying. And then you get to see the werewolf basically like once, sort of.
Right.
The payoff was shit, and I don't approve. I don't appreciate it. You fucks.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad, but it's annoying. I'm like, it's a fucking werewolf movie with like almost the complete absence of werewolves.
I don't
understand.
hate it, but it's just
I don't hate it either.
On the line average or below.
It's just middle of the line to me. It's just it's there. It did a thing. Cool. But that's it.
I mean, it's definitely just a check mark. I mean, some people do like this movie, and you have to admit, like I said, part 4 really.
Some people like part
you
4.
cannot do any worse than 4. Oh my God. And so far, like
we'll find out.
Yeah, like it is so not aware of itself.
When we do 7 and 8,
Lord, I kind of feel like this movie was trying to do the whole typical like glamorous vampire thing with werewolves a little bit.
That's exactly what it felt like to me.
Right, it was
very
like
vampiric, but
Days of Our Werewolves.
Accurate.
Kind of.
Yeah, soap opera-y.
Like the guy who was the photographer was decent at acting, but
I like David.
Which one's David?
The one that like gets to the end with Mary Lou. He has like the fake ass like. Oh no, he has like kind of like an accent. He reminds me of some like famous actor that I can't put my finger on, but his voice and stuff.
I can't think of it. I can't put his picture, and I just watched it today.
Yeah, but he's the one that they're trying to kill.
Okay.
He's the one they're trying to convince
everybody's
is the
trying to be killed.
Yeah, but it's the count.
That's the camera guy. That's what I'm talking about.
Is he a photographer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fuck. See, I don't remember what the fuck they do. I didn't know that one chick was a doctor. Like, I'm like, who the fuck are these people?
The whole end scene, too. We won't get into that just yet, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty typical.
Oh, yeah. That was the best acting she did, too. It was in that last, 10 seconds.
It seems like, for whatever reason in this franchise, guys, that either you take it ultra gory serious and go, full gore, but when they try to do the glamorous aspect of it, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
4 and 5 are kind of in that glamorous sort of thing, whereas the other films are just kind of tongue-in-cheek weird and just the first one's a little bit more serious tone, but...
So some of the trivia that I have for this is, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier when I said it was interesting that they have Gary Brandner credited as a writer, Brandner.
Yeah.
It's because despite the fact that the film states based on the novels, The Howling 1, 2, and 3, written by Gary Brandner, the film is no way based on any of these books, and is a sequel to the earlier Howling films in name only.
Right.
So that's why I found it interesting that he's credited as being a writer on this, because this isn't his work.
Well, and he was closely involved with, I think it was the third and the second one.
I think so, yeah. We talked about that when we did 1 and 2. The original cinematographer for this movie was actually let go by the end of the first day of shooting.
Oh, wow.
As he spoke virtually no English, and so he couldn't work effectively with Sundstrom. They ended up hiring Arledge Armanaki, who took over the role despite only having a limited grasp of English himself at the time, but he was able to communicate adequately enough with Sundstrom, which allowed the filming to proceed. So I'm like, so you went with a guy who couldn't speak any English to a guy that could kind of speak a little bit of English, and then it worked out. I don't know. At least teach him something, you know? Also, Cedric Sundstrom, who is the brother of Neil Sundstrom, was originally asked to direct this movie by Clive Turner, but he turned the offer down as he was already committed to working on another film. But he did recommend his brother for the role, and Neil took on this role hoping to have a more positive experience on a film that he had directed from the start, because he had taken over the directing of another movie in 1988 halfway through that film's production, which didn't turn out very great, I guess, for him. So ultimately, however, he did constantly find himself butting heads with Turner throughout the film because, you know, he wasn't the dude's first choice, and he probably didn't want to do things the way that Turner wanted to, and so they fought.
Well, it seems like these movies seem to have a lot of that. If you've noticed, like a lot of like not working out, like people getting replaced.
It seems like people are arguing
creative
offside,
differences all the time.
Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had.
Okay.
On this.
Well, I didn't have anything extra on that.
It's a hard movie to find some stuff for. So what scene stood out to you?
Well, one of the first ones that kind of made me laugh a little bit, like while this movie wasn't like meant to be funny or anything like that, there was some funny stuff in it, and the Australian guy, the Aussie guy, was pretty funny. Like I thought he was pretty charming and curt.
The long hair.
Yeah, he was kind of like the, you know,
California
the regular Joe kind of, you know, calling it how it is kind of guy, you know. But the professor, this other professor or whatever, is like, he's like, says he's going to go on a bit of an explore. and the Australian guy's out there with the tennis dude, and he's like, they're having a drink talking about something or whatever. And the Aussie says, I'll bet we'll have to gather a search party for him later to the other. And of course, you know, they laugh. And I'm like, oh my God, they're just making a stupid movie joke in there, aren't they? Like this is going to happen. So I don't know. And by the way, guys, this is spoiler category, territory, whatever. So just, you know, be aware that if you don't want this ruined, you're not going to want to listen past this. And you can fast forward to the next movie.
Word.
What about you? Do you have
I actually, even though it was like annoyingly dramatic and kind of unnecessary and stupid, I actually liked the opening scene for the movie. I thought it was kind of cool, and it was I don't know, it was different. I was super confused, but at the same time I was like, oh, this is fun.
Which part were you talking about specifically?
When like they what'd she do, stab herself and stab him at the same time?
He stabs her, she says to kill her, because he's like, is the baby? And she's like, yes. It's dead. I killed it. And he's like, oh God, Lord, forgive us. We had no choice. And then she's like, stab me, kill me, motherfucker. And then he stabs her in the stomach with this fucking comically large sword, dude.
That's fucking ridiculous.
The handle literally was like 4 inches wide. Like, I don't even know how a hand could fit around it.
It was crazy.
Like, you would drop it. Like, you wouldn't be able to hold a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, he stabs her in the chest and then swings her around so her back's to his.
Yeah,
and
that's what it was.
Plunges the sword into him as well. And then he hears the cry of a babe.
In the distance. We all died in vain. But I didn't like it because it was genius. I just liked it because it was fucking ridiculous.
It's really
I was
bad,
laughing my ass off the entire time. I was like, shouldn't be laughing at this, but this is great.
I imagine that's what it would have been like on stage of Shakespeare.
Is just, no, Shakespeare would have been so much
But
better.
do you know what I mean? Like the over dramatic.
Oh, yeah, because they have to. They have to overact in that type of situation.
Sure, that's like a play.
Yeah, but
one of my scenes I got to mention is when Mary Lou, the ditzy chick, she's always like very straightforward because she doesn't know manners because she's not very bright, I guess. And they kind of keep making that a point throughout the whole fucking movie. And her character is so annoying, and so it's so weird that she's like one of the main pieces in the whole fucking thing. Makes no goddamn sense. I guess it's like, I don't know, maybe this is like some sort of like weird Freudian thing where they're trying to say that, you know, the dumb blonde isn't always as dumb as you think.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're getting at.
Because I have friends who are girls who have been very honest with me and were like, yeah, sometimes I like to play dumb because it gets
you what you want.
What I want, yeah. And I'm like thinking to myself, because by the end of the movie, she's all like evilly looking into the camera. Anyway.
Ugh.
But anyway, she gets in the tub with the Mr. Tennis dude, and they're both nude. He's been trying to, like, bang the shit out of her since the fucking movie started. And she's like, I'm still not sure how I feel about this, as she's unrobing and getting into the hot tub in the fucking this castle. And he's like, no, it's, you know, it's a Japanese culture thing. They do it in Japan. And she's like, I don't know. You keep your hands to yourself, mister. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Why is this even important?
It's not.
Yeah, it was like,
it's just to show titties.
Probably, yeah. I mean, then not a very, it's pretty common in this movie. Titties are probably one of the biggest things in the Howling franchise. There's
always titties.
Literally titties in every fucking movie in any inglorious way that they could possibly.
Yeah, there's especially inglorious way in the next one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they get freaky in there.
Yeah, they do.
They the freaks.
It's real weird.
What about you? What about another scene?
I liked when I can't remember who she was or what her role was, but the chick that was kind of taking care of the stupid blonde girl.
Oh, the rich actor, the older actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after they lock up the Count, because David is like trying to convince everybody that the Count is the guy who's killing everyone.
Right.
And the Count's trying to say that David's the werewolf or whatever, right? And so like David locks up the Count in these cells in the basement or whatever, and she doesn't, agree with it, and so she goes down there and basically like lets him out, and he locks her in to the cell, and he's like, here, but I'm gonna leave the key.
Just leave in 2 hours.
Just if I'm not back in just wait for 2 hours before you open it, and if I'm not back in 2 hours, like best of luck to you.
Safer here.
Yeah, he's basically saying she's safer, there because a werewolf can't get to her or whatever, right? And then fast forward about like 5 minutes or so, all of a sudden, like she's
impatient.
She's impatient, and she's trying to open up the gate or open up the lock, and then she drops the key, and she's trying to reach the key, and you see some shadow come along, and the viewer is like, obviously it's fucking werewolf. Like,
right.
It's very clear that that's what's going to be. And she's like, oh, finally. Like, I was getting worried or whatever the fuck.
She said, thank God I didn't want to die.
Yeah.
Then you hear the violins.
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden this like hairy fucking hand grabs her throat, and she's like, ah. And I'm like, yeah, stupid. But
yeah,
hilarious.
It is really stupid. Like,
you deserve it.
It's like they were trying to, like, I don't know if they're trying to be cheeky and just fun by saying like, I didn't want to die. I died. How ironic.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's not ironic. It's just silly.
It was just hella predictable. But cool.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, it made me laugh though, and I was like, haha, stupid.
Right.
Should have stuck at the back of the fucking wall, you dumbass. Probably would have been safe.
The only other one that I can mention is the maid when she gets her head chopped off by Mary Lou.
That was excellent.
And then someone swings the fucking axe.
She does.
Yeah, and then he dives out of the way, the photographer guy, David, and then her head gets fucking chopped the fuck off, which is pretty cool. It was the best thing in the whole fucking movie. But yeah, and then the butler gets spiked in. No, that's what it was. The butler comes to swing at David.
That's it. Yeah.
With the axe, and he moves out of the way because Mary Lou becomes behind him and stabs him in the chest with the spike or whatever, and then chops off the maid's head. So
yes, no, crossball. He gets shot with a crossbow.
We got to mention that.
Like, who had a crossbow? Where'd you get it? Why don't you keep it?
The weird thing is that there was I think what it is that they tried to make there was too many characters for them to really kind of like play out this thing, but they wanted to up the kill count. Everybody's killing each other off. Like, I mean, I think the werewolf killed like 3 people, and the rest, everybody killed each other. Yeah,
but you don't see them kill, or half of them get killed. You just see their bodies.
Yeah, that kind of was disappointing
with their throats ripped out or whatever, and that's it.
Yeah, it was like,
you don't see the long hair surfer dude get killed. You kind of hint at it. You don't see the doctor chick get killed. You don't see the
surfer dude,
whatever,
the Playboy rich
guy. Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah, I think so. And then there's the tennis guy.
The fucking tennis guy. He was so annoying.
Yeah. Well, everybody was really.
Yeah, they all were.
But anyway, the movie ends kind of stupid, and it's like up in the air whether she's going to shoot the Count or David, because the Count's saying David's the werewolf, and David's saying he's the werewolf, and he's like, don't shoot, and then of course the camera like goes to her and she fires, and it's like, who is it? Yeah, like, oh God, days of our lives.
Yeah.
And these are the werewolves of our lives.
Basically.
And she pans and looks at the camera, freaky-deaky.
Oh, freaky-deaky.
And they try to, like, incorporate her into the other movies.
Yeah.
Which
And
they kind of
then
do in this one.
It's David that comes up, and she shot the count.
Right.
So it's David that comes up, and he's, like, comforting her, and then we killed him. The werewolf is dead, or whatever, and then the camera, like, zooms in on her face, and she just smiles.
Well, yeah, and they said in the movie, too, they were like, typically in the written law, it says that the werewolf it's usually the most innocent one. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, okay. I don't know.
So it's the stupid girl.
It's not a great movie, but it's not a bad sit.
It's not terrible.
It's like probably like a 4.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I give it a 4.
Yeah, maybe. Probably right. Yeah, it's just I don't know. Just like after seeing like part 4, I couldn't get it out of my head. I kept saying it.
Can only go up from there.
Yeah. But there was another movie that we watched, obviously, which is Howling VI The Freaks. And that came out in 1991.
Yeah.
The story is a villainous carnival owner traps a young werewolf to include in his growing menagerie of inhuman exhibits. We're so full of ourselves.
Whatever. We could suck our own dicks from now and then.
What? The fact that we're able to make fun of ourselves, Brittany, I think says a lot. This was directed by Hope Perillo. This is Hope's first feature film. Also directed a movie called Pet Shop about an alien couple that comes to Earth to open a pet shop to eat Earth's children.
Nice.
I know, I'm kind of curious about it.
That's fucking cool. I want to watch it.
Right? And plus, they also did a kind of like a weird drama called St. Patrick's Day, which has nothing to do with any horror or weirdness. It's just straight weird, I guess. I don't know. But Hope has also worked as a production assistant on a number of different films like Troll, Crawl Space, From Beyond, Dolls, and Eliminators. So they've been in production for a long time. So this is where they finally got the
big break.
The big break to do the direction. And I don't think it worked out too well because that's the last movie was St. Patrick's Day. It was also written by Kevin Rock, his first feature film, writing a feature film, that is. He was a writer on Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four that never actually got fully released, but there is some copy kind of circulating around that people have reviewed and actually talked about it, but I think it's missing a lot of stuff. Huh. He also did Warlock, the Armageddon, Philadelphia Experiment 2, and a show called Perversions of Science. Some of the makeup effects is done by Jason Barnett from Todd Masters' company. He worked on movies like The Resurrected, which is a H.P. Lovecraft story. It's pretty good special effects in there. The acting and stuff's kind of weird, but it's not a bad movie. Hellraiser Bloodline, The Relic, Men in Black 2 and 3, Silent Hill, Killjoy, Hellboy, Lady in the Water, and quite a few others. Planet of the Apes, one of the first ones.
There's a lot of cool shit.
From 2001, the one with Mark Wahlberg, I think, in it. Cast includes Brendan Hughes, who plays Ian. He's the main star in this movie. He was in movies like Return to Horror High, Outland, To Die For. He had a small part in American Werewolf in London and a couple of episodes of Torchwood. It also stars Michelle Matheson, who plays Lizzie, Elizabeth. She's the preacher's daughter. She was in Kingpin, the comedy movie, the TV show Mr. Belvedere. She did a lot of episodes, like over 30, I think. And Life Goes On with Corky. Remember that show?
I like it.
Do you remember that? You ever heard of that?
Yeah. But is that all she really did?
Oh, and she also did Revenge of the Nerds 3.
Okay.
I just tried to pick things that she did a lot of.
Yeah, she looks so familiar to me.
She did too, for me as well. She wasn't
really
the greatest
pretty.
actor in this movie, but...
She was hot, though.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much why they probably...
Whatever, I was like, she's hot.
She probably wanted to break out of that kid thing,
Yeah.
Also stars Sean Sullivan, who plays Winston, who was part of the Buford Tannen's gang in Back to the Future 3, by the way. He was also in Wayne's World as Phil, and he was in Class of 1999. Did you watch that with us?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure,
maybe I did.
I think you did.
Yeah, I think I did.
But yeah, I don't remember who she was in that. She probably played one, or he was in this and that, but I just can't place him.
Was that the one we did that horrible shot? 4?
I don't remember.
Good
Do you know
Lord.
how many
The one that
horrible
was,
shots
like-
we've done?
Well, the one we mixed everything. We took all the ingredients of what they had on the table.
No, that was the Marty shot.
Oh, God. The Marty Party.
Marty Party, yeah.
Jesus, that was horrible.
Hey, we're creative here, guys. Don't give a shit, okay? Also stars Antonio Fargas, who plays Bellamy, the sort of geek guy, but he's more of like a. I think they tried to make him into a Haitian like.
Oh, the big tall black
voodoo
guy?
ritual guy, but he was also a geek because he chews off the head of a fucking chicken.
Yeah.
But he was in a ton of blaxploitation films like Shaft, Foxy Brown, Cleopatra Jones.
I fucking love Foxy Brown.
He was in the original Starsky and Hutch, Sam Raimi's Crime Wave, and a movie called The Borrower. He's also in a movie called Car Wash where...
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah,
Now
I haven't seen that. He played like a clinger sort of character.
Is that Ice? No, it's not
From
Ice
MASH or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, it stars Bruce Payne, who he plays Harker. He was in movies like Full Eclipse, which we covered in our Werewolves episode. The Keep is a bodyguard. I remember pointing that out. He was also in Solar Babies, Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, Warlock 3, horrible movie, by the way, Highlander, Endgame, Dungeons & Dragons, Re-Kill, and plenty more. Also stars Jared Barclay, who plays Dewey the Preacher. He started his career back in the 50s in the Westerns and such. He was in the TV show The Dukes, Pole Position. He did voice acting in the Transformers TV show as Cerberus. I can't say it.
Cerberus.
Yeah. It's also, did voice acting in The Smurfs, Paddington Bear. And this movie was actually his second to last film as an actor. It says that he's still alive.
He just quit.
Yeah, he just stopped. He did a movie after this one called Whore, which was kind of like a sort of an exploitation film on hookers.
Sweet.
So...
That's a good one to retire on, I guess.
Right, yeah. His horror star is shining bright, that one. He was like a dead guy in the movie, so.
Excellent. That's how he killed his career. He just stopped after that.
He left it in the trunk of that car and never...
Never to return again. Good move, man. Good move.
This movie was made on about a $2 million budget. What were your thoughts on this, though?
Well, I'm a sucker for anything freak show, circusy related, so automatically I was just like far more intrigued with this movie and this franchise. There's a lot of moving parts to this too. You have a werewolf. You have a purple guy.
Purple creature. We won't say what.
We're going to talk about later. You've got a preacher and this weird town and freaks.
Right.
Which all of which are fake freaks.
Well, no,
essentially.
there were some real ones.
Yeah, I don't know if the actors are actually like real freaks or not, but I don't know. But it was still, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Like I was really like not looking forward to these movies at all. Considering coming freshly off watching 3 and 4, hating you.
Well, Joshua Aaron, who has been on the podcast numerous times, and he's also he's a big supporter of us.
Yes, he
bought these for us, so we had to watch them.
He's awesome.
And fuck you, Josh, just by the way. No, I'm kidding.
3 and 4 or these two?
He bought 1 through 6.
Fucking A.
He was like, you need to watch these now. He's like, I can't wait for you to talk about it. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, this one.
So if that's a way if you guys ever want to make us watch something.
Yeah, buy it for us. Yeah. We will definitely watch it.
Because I'll feel guilty otherwise, you know?
I won't. I'm just kidding.
Some of this has been really good, though.
It's fine. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the first one for this franchise, obviously, and then I like this one.
The first one gave a lot of people nightmares because of the transformation.
But the first one's awesome. That transformation, you cannot fuck with it. It is so dope.
It's not even and the entire rest of the franchise is not even a mere shadow.
No, nowhere near it.
Yeah,
nowhere near it, except for in the fourth one. That was so weird and cool.
Yeah, but that's, yeah.
But I don't even know if you can count that as like a transformation.
Well, the guy who did it was like he's really talented. He's been in a lot of movies, so it's weird that he was even attached to this. They were like, we need to have like a really good scene in this because this movie sucks. Yeah. So they were like, let's hire him to do something really extravagant. We're only going to pay for one thing. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. So.
Yeah, well, good. You got your money's worth on that one thing. But I enjoyed, like, the acting's, it's okay.
It's tolerable.
It's tolerable. I mean, it's not great. Some of the characters, you actually get to know the characters, I feel like, better in this one than you do in 5, which is great. You can kind of build more of a relationship with them, and you're curious about what will happen to them. You actually kind of care about it.
Right.
You start to develop a relationship with some of the freaks and also just the townspeople. The mayor was a ridiculously awesome character, I thought. He was a terrible actor, but he was fucking funny.
I've seen him in other stuff before.
Yeah,
and
he looks so fucking familiar, and I couldn't put my finger on it either, but I'm like, maybe he's just like one of those guys that just looks like someone else.
And the sad thing is that a lot of the characters didn't even have pictures, so like I was trying to remember everybody's name, and I'm like, fuck, what is that guy's mayor something? But yeah, they changed the name in the thing. I don't know. Anyway.
This shit was fucking, he was so funny. Like, he was just so stupid, but hilarious. You know, all of these movies kind of have their own original take on werewolves and like the entire story or origin story behind it, and like how they become what they are. And this one was very similar to 5 in a lot of ways, but different.
What do you mean?
So as far as like the whole family, like complete massacre thing, like I thought it was like, were they trying to say that this is the fucking werewolf from that last movie? What? But it's not, because, you know, he talks about it a little bit later on, is how he became what he is, but it also involves a mass family fucking massacre, and he's the only one left, and blah, blah, fucking blah.
I picture the franchise as a coffin that everyone keeps trying to carry. And everyone keeps dropping it, and the body keeps rolling out, letting them know that the franchise is dead. And it should have been dead and buried long ago, but they keep trying to drag it out, and the body keeps rolling around. But everybody's like, oh, I've got the formula.
Yeah, it's the literal definition of beating a dead horse. But they just continued to do it. Yeah. So it is what it is. But this was my favorite of the later installments so far.
Right.
Of this franchise. So we'll see what 7 and 8 have to hold, but I feel like those are going to suck.
Yeah, we're going to have to put them in order of like our least to favorite.
Okay, well, we both hate 4.
Well, we don't need to do it now.
No, I'm just saying, like, if that's going to be easy.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, though.
It's worth the time and effort. No, I was pretty much done. Like, this one was cool. It had its moments. Did I think it worked completely, like, the entire way through? No, but was it messy? Yes. Did they try and throw too much in at one time? Yes, but the payoff ultimately was still kind of cool. So,
well, your first, like, one of the things that I always do when you first get introduced into a movie in the first few scenes, like the first scene, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I know what they were trying to do, but it starts off right away with a 20-year-old running with a teddy bear. I assume that the character was probably supposed to be 12 or 13.
Yeah, but she's like an adult.
Yeah, she was like 20-something years old, probably. And then she gets attacked by a shadowy creature. It's got some, the movie's got a lot of like recognizable people that you would feel like you know or remember. You know, there's, a stranger walks into town with a teddy bear, so you know he's somehow involved, and you don't know how, but they unfold the story as it goes. And one of the things I noticed also is like the sheriff comes up to him and he's like, yeah, we don't like no long-term visitors around here. And I'm like, well,
oh, weird.
But there's a sign on the fucking window behind him that says that there's a freak show coming in, and that's cool.
Yeah.
There's some really weird shit that happens in this movie that we're going to be talking about, by the way. And the freak show, by the way, is says Harker's World of Wonders. You know, it's a freak show. But anyway, the freak show comes rolling into town, and that's when things kind of start to unravel a little bit more and more. Bruce Payne plays the ringleader of a freak wrangler, hell-bent on seducing the unfairly treated into his money ring, pretty much. But then you find that there's other nefarious reasons as to why he's doing it. Plus, you know, he makes a pretty good devious
he's not bad.
Actor, you know what I mean? He's grimy, you know. You always know something's up with him because he's got something going on.
Can't be trusted.
I don't even think he's ever played like a regular role.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's just typecast as a fucking, you know,
slimeball.
Like a devious somebody. I don't know about typecast, but you know what I mean.
Somebody.
But, you know, and it makes sense too because, you know, they have a werewolf freak show. Makes sense. Nobody would bat an eye at that. So, but is the werewolf a part of the show? The plot thickens. But there is it's a pretty decent werewolf in this, you know, it's got a transformation scene in it, which isn't horrible. It's better than fucking what we've seen so far. And like, I mean, they haven't had a fucking good transformation scene since the first one. So, I mean, it was nice that they actually wanted to try to make a scene somewhat close to it, even though it's not anywhere near the first one. But it's got kind of like a weird freak show kind of wolf.
He looks so stupid.
He doesn't look like the typical full-on werewolf. You know what I mean?
Looks
Like,
dumb. Looks like a person with a hairy face and wolf legs.
right. Well,
But
very
like fawn wolf legs. Weird.
very much like a freak show would be.
Right.
So I think that they were trying to kind of like cater to that.
Which makes sense, but still he looked goofy.
It was a little.
It wasn't scary, he looked goofy.
Much more gore in this film, though. A lot more gore in this, which I enjoyed. I think, it was a nice change of pace a little bit since the last time we saw pretty much any gore was we had that moment in 4.
That was it, though.
And
then the
then
head chopping
there
off.
was no blood hardly in 3, and part 2 had some pretty awesome gore, actually. But I think they did a pretty great job on the creature effects that they did in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought they were really good. I was like, actually, some of the practical effects and stuff that they were doing, the makeup, I should say, was really good. Like, it was believable. Like, they had, like, one of the alligator boy, the amazing...
Yeah, he was cool.
He had, like, really cool makeup. It kind of reminded me of that movie called... the one that Alex Winter directed. Freaks or something it was called.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking? I can't think of it for some reason.
Way back?
Yeah, it's the comedy. It's like a comedy.
Freaks. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is called Freaks.
Oh, I haven't seen that in forever. It's a good movie.
It's actually not a bad movie. It's a silly movie, but some of the effects in it weren't as comical like that.
Oh, no. The Freaks, that's 1932.
Well, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoyed the creatures in this film, and I thought the makeup that they did in this was much better than some of the other ones that we've seen. As we already know, like part 3 or part 2 had like issues with their wardrobe. They got the fucking Planet of the Apes shit. But
yeah. That was so crazy.
It's definitely not a perfect film, this one, but, I have seen far worse in the series so far. So, although it perhaps it's, not the worst yet.
Freaked.
We don't know. Freaked. Thank you. Yes. But, so I don't know. It's a good film. I think it's notable in the franchise because this franchise has really gone on like a serious roller coaster of emotions. And like literally you've hit every single type of fan of werewolves in this. So there's probably going to be someone that will like 1 or 2 films out of this whole franchise. If they like them all, then they just love werewolf films altogether, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think like the typical casual horror movie watcher will find 1 or 2 that they like out of this whole franchise and be like, okay, I don't really need to see the rest. And I always hear that this one is always mentioned as one of the ones that they were like surprised by.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm in the same fucking freak boat. So
well, I like 2 a lot. I thought that was
2
actually
okay.
fun. I thought it was really fun, like
Yeah.
in the Blood Diner kind of fun way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but there is some trivia on this. This is the only Howling film between 4 and 7 that Clive Turner was not involved in. So it is in no way involved with the books, obviously, and it was a new breed. It was a new spin on it again. You know what I mean? Mary Lou, who's in this movie, also, she was from the previous sequel, but they don't really shine a light on her at all. She has a brief, non-speaking cameo as a circus audience member in the beginning of the film. So, but, her quick appearance won't be referenced until the following sequel, apparently, called New Moon Rising. So, Bruce Payne's character, Harker, was named after Jonathan Harker from Bram Stoker's Dracula, his 1897 Gothic horror novel. He was the one that journeyed out to Transylvania. That's the character's name.
Neat.
So, I didn't know that.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm not a big vampire or werewolf fan, but
Same.
I like gore.
Yeah.
So, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, I'll get into it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for fucking thing. I did make some noble efforts to try to find some stuff, but these movies are not some of the popular.
We made strides.
Right. Like, the other ones were a little bit easier to figure out. Like, I tried to listen. And these ones are tough. Like, I think, some of the ones I have, they didn't even have any commentary on it or anything. So otherwise I would have listened to both of them and done that, but Did you have any scenes that you really kind of stood out to you?
So I like when we first get to go to the freak show. Like when they have everything set up there.
Okay.
Because that's like the coolest fucking freak show, by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of like
it's set
old
up
school.
really cool. And it's super old school. And then, but each freak has their own little section. And also they have this sick fucking graveyard area.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It was so cool.
It was like a haunted house or something.
Yeah, it was like they were going through and looking at like these oddities and shit, which is awesome because I'm totally into that stuff, like two-headed babies and two-headed calves and all this like weird shit that they had on display. And then all of a sudden they go into this like graveyard area where there's all these bodies that are like trying to grab them, and then this stupid Grim Reaper like on a chain, like on a zip line that like comes after them, which is really funny and stupid, but and then they go into this room where there's this like clown, this weird creepy clown that's just like laughing.
Come this way.
And oh yeah, exit this way, this way, and then all of a sudden he closes all the doors and starts laughing, and I was like, yes.
And it's a dummy in place of him or something like that.
Yeah, and it was crazy. I love that whole scene. It was just cool because I love that old timey freak show vibe, and they captured it really, really well in this movie. So it was done nicely.
Well,
and I just thought it was cool, like visually.
Yeah, no, they did a decent job on that. It's no, like, I like, one of my favorite circus ones that I think of in this bracket in that 90s sort of vibe way is from Warlock 2, where they go to the freak show and he puts the guy in a mirror on the reverse side and he thinks he tricks him and he's stuck in this like crazy fucked up world. But that whole area was pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Well, I mentioned that I like the transformation scene a little bit. You know, it's not perfect, but, you know, some of the nails popping off. I just want to
that was cool.
Briefly mention that. That makes me cringe.
Oh, me too.
I hate when I see nails pop off or something. The ringleader, Mr. Harker, shoots Ian after his transformation scene. And by the way, guys, this is spoiler. I'm sorry, I should have given you a spoiler alert. He shoots Ian. Harker shoots Ian after his transformation scene. They like track him down and he's like, we got a new freak, you know, he's a real one. Ah. And then they track him down and then he's like normal. And then they shoot him, like
when
literally. Yeah, right outside the preacher's house where he's been staying and almost banging the daughter. But he's like a nice guy, you know, so he doesn't bang the daughter because one, they're in a church, and two, he's a fucking werewolf. I keep saying that. I don't know why I do that. And
it's one and the same.
But Lizzie and her father come running out after he gets shot, like they're just curious. Like, and it makes no sense. If someone just got shot.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, they're like, what's going on out here? Oh, you shot our friend.
Cool.
Before they even know what's going on, it's like this whole situation is really long.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was really weird. But then Bruce Payne's character, Harker, uses this weird crystal and starts shouting out things and force transforms the guy into like a partial werewolf or whatever, Ian or whatever. And then, I mean, if I heard a gunshot, though, I'd be curious, but I wouldn't be, like, out there, like...
I'm not going to run outside.
Oh, did you shoot somebody?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be like that. It just seemed really weird.
It was weird. It didn't make a lot of sense to me.
What about, do you have another scene that you want to...
There's two death scenes that I like. They don't really show one of them, but they show the aftermath of it.
Yes! Oh, I know what you're talking about.
So, Fuller is the sheriff. So, Sheriff Fuller, he's kind of... catching on to Harker.
The sheriff?
Yeah. And so he's kind of catching on to Harker in a way, and Harker ultimately kills him.
That's a whole fucking weird thing, though.
It is a weird thing.
Because, like, he sees a dude in a cage and doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
The main character,
he tries
Ian.
to let him go, too.
Right, like, first of all, he's not on board that he doesn't even really know that the guy's a werewolf. He just says that he killed some animals. That's it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean the guy needs to be in a fucking cage.
Right.
Because Harker kidnaps Ian and puts him in a cage to make him a new freak. Mm-hmm. And then the sheriff just walks in. He's like, hey, what's going on? So what's the situation here?
Yeah, super weird.
And then, but anyway, continue on. Sorry.
Eventually Harker just ends up killing Sheriff Fuller. And then he's just missing. Like, they're trying to find where he is. And just like the banker chick, too.
Right.
She was missing, too, but like they don't talk about that. They just touch on the fact that she didn't show up.
Well,
for
they
work
talk
and
about
leave it
this
alone.
being closed, like the bank being closed.
Yeah, the guy's trying to leave town, but he can't because his money's in the bank, and so now he's stuck there. And I'm like, no one's gonna be like, where the fuck is this bitch at? Like, they just leave it alone. They don't talk about it until they find her in a dumpster.
Right.
Like after they find the dead sheriff.
Well, I think it's actually no. The sheriff finds the body in the dumpster.
That's how it. Yeah.
And then
That's what leads him that
And then
way.
he gets chased.
There it is.
Yeah.
I was like, what? How did we get here? How did we get here? Anyway, yeah, Harker kills him. We find the body, and I don't remember if it's his dad or whoever it is that finds him.
Yeah,
in
because
this room.
Yeah, it's the Dewey, the preacher guy. Mm-hmm. They're like rallying to get Ian.
Yeah.
Because they know that he's a werewolf.
Yeah.
And he's an evil thing.
But they haven't blamed him for like killing people yet.
Right.
So then they find Sheriff Fuller dead, and he is just like ripped to fucking shreds, and it looks so cool.
Yeah, his neck is like hanging open, and his body's slumped over, and he's got like claws, like
he's all fucked up.
Right.
And it looks cool, and they only put him on for like a split second, and I was like,
that's cool though.
Stay
yeah.
on that. Like I paused it because I was like, that is so neat. And then it was sad too, because then the dude that finds them, who I'm assuming is like related, is like crying, and I'm like, oh no, that's shitty. And then all of a sudden they're like, he needs to die, and then they go and try and find him and blame him for all the murders and shit. So there's that. But yeah, that scene was cool. That was a good gore scene in this movie.
I pretty much like the only other favorite scene is kind of like just when Harker, because spoiler alert, guys, he's a vampire. And not just any vampire, a fucking purple one.
Oh, yeah, he's super purple.
Right. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Like, it's kind of weird, but it also kind of works. Like, it reminds me of The Gate 2. Have you ever seen... Oh, you haven't seen it. Yeah, I don't think you have, because it's hard to get, and a lot of people haven't seen it. They didn't even know there was a sequel for it. But they do some weird creature effects in there that kind of reminded me of this creature. So, but Harker... Basically, before he goes on his rampage, Dewey figures out that he's like the one that's killing people. And Harker's like, so fucking what? And chucks him into a wall. And he's like, I'll come back for you later. No. And then they go, he walks out and they're like, so is Dewey coming? And he's like, no, he said I might be able to help.
So they're without him.
So they're going after Ian now to get him because he's escaped. And because the girl, the daughter of the preacher, is like trying to save him because they're out to kill him. And as they tell him that they're coming and they get out, they like start to point their guns at him, and nobody shoots him because he's not a werewolf.
He's a man.
He's a man. And so they're like, I can't shoot a man. And then fucking Harker gets pissed and he's like, I'm fucking sick of this.
Oh, that's when he flips the truck.
And he flips the fucking truck, yeah. And then it's
right.
like Harker madness, like where he just turns into the purple fucking fang demon fucking vampire fucking just wrecking doors and shit. It's kind of fun, you know. He gets all aggro.
It was kind of cool just because he's purple.
Right.
Like, he's this fucking ridiculous purple ass 80s Barney vampire, and
It's
I'm like,
kind of
oh my
silly,
God.
but it kind of works too. Like
does.
I like it because it's the freak show, you know what I mean?
It totally works. Like it did work in a way. It shouldn't have worked, but it did.
It's like, and then, you know, of course, there's a werewolf fucking vampire showdown, fight, which is pretty underwhelming, by the way.
Terrible.
But it is, you know, probably one of the first, I mean, you know, we could go back to really old times, but it just kind of gave me the weird vibe of like something like Underworld masturbated to before it made its movie. You know what I mean? I'm not putting down Underworld. It's not my thing, but you know what I mean?
It's better than these.
It kind of makes me wonder how they did some of what they did there, because there was like this whole melting scene with him.
That scene was so cool.
I don't want to explain how it happens, but there's a melting scene in this, and it kind of looks like sand.
It does. It's so cool.
Like how they had it flap open.
I was trying to
and
figure it out too, and
I
it
wonder,
obviously all time lapsed. Like
I wonder if it was heat and styrofoam.
That's what I was thinking when I was looking at it, but that's some serious fucking sculpting magic.
Well, the head's all bobbing about and shit. You know, maybe that's how they did it. Is like to use extreme heat blowers.
It's definitely like a time lapsed version of it, but I feel like they were probably using some type of like a heat blowing or some wind.
Yeah, with different colored
motion.
Layers of fucking styrofoam or something.
Yeah, it was so fucking.
They were
cool,
like,
though.
"Fuck the Earth," and they were like blowing on it.
Multiple elements between.
It was kind of cool, yeah.
I did have one other scene prior to that, though.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
How we find out that Harker's a vampire.
Oh, what?
Which, when the mayor goes to go talk to Harker in his trailer, and he comes in and he just he can't find him in the trailer anywhere, and then he just sees dirt and like some earthworms like on the corner of this like bench seat, right? And he's like, what the fuck? And just kind of sits down, and then like all of a sudden Harker just like pops up out of the side of the fucking bench and just like bites into his fucking stomach.
Right, yeah.
And then somehow launches him up out of like the moonroof or whatever of this trailer.
Yeah.
And then he like flops to the side and he's like, ah! And then he just drags him in, and I'm like, what the fuck? The fuck just happened? And then I was like, oh, the motherfucker's a vampire.
Yeah.
I kind of had a feeling.
Which
but
also explains some of the persuasion that he has over
exactly,
the freaks.
the glamour.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I mean, at first you think, oh, he's just really good at talking.
No, it's a
and like
vampire
making
glamour.
these freaks feel at home, and they come to their own realization, but they do stare at him a lot, so I think they were trying to convey that.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I forgot that he was a vampire. I just remember he turned into a creature.
Purple, yeah.
While it's silly and it's not like, it's like above average. It's definitely above number 5, the Rebirth.
Yeah, and their fight scene is so pathetic.
There is a lot of really bad parts in it that just don't make sense or work or whatever, but I think they made a decent effort at it, and for its schlockiness, it's actually not horrible to watch. It's definitely not. It's a nice speed bump in the road of,
Yeah.
You know what I mean, in the whole chain of franchise, I guess.
Yep.
So, but if you guys, have you seen it? What do you guys think of both of these movies? I would assume that your pick is this one.
Yeah.
It's mine too.
Yeah, I give this one like a 5.5, probably.
Yeah, it's probably around that. It's like, it kind of reminds me of stuff I would watch on Cinemax on late night when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, it would pop on and be like, oh yeah, this is cool.
It's not groundbreaking fucking cinema by any means, but it's cool.
It does some cool things. It's got some cool elements. It mixes it all up.
Keeps you interested.
Yeah. It's
The freaks are
definitely a
kinda
more
cool, too.
noble effort than the previous two.
Yeah.
So, but what do you guys think? Do you like them? Do you want us to continue on with this franchise? Because we got 2 left.
Oh, tell us no.
And I got to go pick those up too, or trying to figure out a way to get them. Because,
Tell us no.
yeah, say no.
Don't do it.
Yeah. I just wonder, it's sad too, because we did this franchise. I'm almost like worn out of werewolves, and you know what I mean?
I've always worn out of werewolves. I've just never been a fan.
You know what? Have you seen Dog Soldiers though? Because that's a really
you know what?
good
I haven't
one.
seen that one.
That's
so
a good
we can
one.
do that.
No, we already did.
Oh,
We did that early on.
that's right.
When we
well,
used
then
to
I'll
do.
just watch it.
By the way, guys, we used to do like 5-6 movies in an episode because
Yeah.
I was like fucking crazy.
So like half the shit I suggest, Alex is like, I already did it. I'm like, I fucking hate you.
Right? Yeah. Like,
So I'm like, you pick the movies.
it's hard for me to remember now. I'm getting like lost, and we didn't have a website when we first started either, so I have to rely on notes, which are shaky at best. So I don't know. Anyway, but guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you let a friend know about the episode and what we do here, whether it's for the podcast, for the stream, for the videos on YouTube that we do. Like, we're going to try to amp it up a little bit more. I'm trying to spend more time on getting more content for you guys. I'm also in talks and working with other people to try to get new guests on, get other people on other podcasts on. So we're going to have kind of an array of different things here. So, yeah, so definitely look forward to that in the future, but let everybody know if you are interested in what we do. We greatly appreciate you guys listening, and we will be here next week for a brand new episode. And as always,
Stay weird, monsters.
You have been listening to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Tune in every Monday for a brand new episode.